The jobs you thought were safe are getting erased like pencil marks, and the next round is already queued. Look around and you can feel it. The American work machine is grinding, not gently slowing. It's snapping belts. In just a short stretch of time, companies have lined up cuts that add up to more than 1 million roles. And it isn't only entry-level work getting trimmed. It's the positions people built their lives around, the ones that paid mortgages, daycare, and medical bills. Teams are being deleted in one meeting as if the projects never mattered. Some people are learning their careers ended from a bland automated message, then watching their logins die seconds later. How does that happen to someone with 20 years of experience? And what does it say when even high earners are suddenly treated like a line item? The pattern is repeating everywhere. Costs go up, customers pull back, executives panic, and payroll becomes the easiest lever to yank. But what's happening now isn't a tiny correction. It's a wave that keeps building, and it's still early. The unsettling part is that many of these companies are not poor. They're choosing a different future, one with more software, more machines, and fewer humans. As we move through the list, notice the common thread. It's not one industry, it's not one region, it's a chain reaction, and each cut makes the next cut easier. Another reason this feels different is the way the cuts land. In past downturns, companies would reduce fringe projects and keep the core staff to be ready for the rebound. Now, many leaders are doing the opposite. They're trimming experienced people and keeping the tools. They're betting that software can absorb the workload, even if quality drops for a while. That changes the power balance. When enough skilled workers are looking for jobs at the same time, wages stop climbing. Benefits get negotiated down. Remote roles become rare perks again. And the fear spreads quietly through offices because everyone knows a reorg can arrive with zero warning. Have you felt that tension at work lately? Or heard the new favorite phrase, "we're doing more with less," as if it's a badge instead of a warning? Ready for the first warning sign? The 10th name is Walmart, the place families run to when every dollar has to stretch. For decades, it has been the emergency valve for tight budgets, the store that makes a week of groceries feel possible. But this time, even that safety net is showing strain. When Walmart announced about 1,500 roles would be removed, the headline sounded like corporate housekeeping. The reality is darker. These weren't the workers stocking shelves in the middle of the night. The hits landed in the corporate engine room: planning, internal operations, supply coordination, the people who keep thousands of trucks and millions of products moving on time. Many of those jobs paid solid middle to upper incomes, the kind that used to mean stability. Why cut there? Because Walmart sees the receipts before anyone else. When households start choosing fewer items and swapping brands down, the numbers show up fast. Groceries that once filled a cart for under $100 now climb past $120 without much effort. Eggs, chicken, rice, canned staples, cereal. Nearly every basic has crept higher. And when shoppers buy less, even the giant feels it. Rent keeps rising. Utility bills bite harder. Medical costs don't wait for a good month. People are making harsh trades: pay the power bill or restock the pantry, cover the copay or replace the shoes. Can a company built on low price keep winning in a country where the customer is tapped out? So, Walmart leans into the toolset that doesn't need breaks. Automation, smarter scanners, faster sorting, machines that count inventory and route pallets with less human oversight. Executives love the math because savings can be measured on spreadsheets. Workers feel it because the savings are their paychecks. And the bigger message is brutal. When the store designed for struggling families starts trimming its own backbone roles, the affordability squeeze is not easing. It's spreading. Next up is a symbol of American engineering that once felt untouchable, and what happens there should make you uneasy. The 9th name is Boeing. For years, it represented precision, national pride, and paychecks tied to real expertise. The company's identity was built on building machines that carry lives. It supported generations of skilled workers. But now Boeing is cutting roughly 2,500 jobs. The kind of jobs matters. These reductions reach into the core: engineers, quality teams, safety and testing specialists, inspectors, technical analysts. People who earned strong salaries because the work demanded it. Cutting talent like that isn't a casual choice. It's a company trying to relieve pressure that has been stacking for years. Production delays, supply disruptions, and expensive consequences from safety issues have drained billions. Losses have piled up, and scrutiny has tightened. Commercial aircraft orders can slow when airlines feel nervous. Airlines get nervous when the economy looks shaky. That means fewer orders, less cash flow, and more internal stress. So Boeing reaches for the harshest tool, payroll reduction. The part that stings most is where some cuts land, teams tied to testing and quality checks. Those are the people verifying components, double-checking systems, and catching problems before they become disasters. Leadership says streamlined processes and automation can fill gaps. But can software replace seasoned judgment when the stakes are human lives? For the workers, it isn't abstract. It's a career built on skill and identity, ending with a notice that feels cold. Severance doesn't erase the feeling of being discarded. And for the country, it sends a signal. When a pillar of industrial capability trims deep into high-skill talent, the broader foundation is under strain. Now let's move to the company that once helped build the middle class itself, and why its future plan is suddenly shedding people. The eighth name is General Motors. The promise was loud. Electric vehicles would be the next big growth era, a new chapter that would keep factories humming and careers secure. But the transition has collided with reality. Buyers are hesitant. Batteries remain expensive. Financing is harder with higher interest rates, and inventories of unsold vehicles can sit like bricks on dealer lots. In this mess, GM announced plans to eliminate more than 3,000 roles. It's not only factory cuts, a lot of it targets the white-collar spine behind the EV shift. Engineering, administration, program support, software, and technical teams. These are workers building battery systems, integrating code, and shaping next-generation drivetrains. When you cut the people tied to the future, it tells you the future is costing too much right now. GM has invested tens of billions into EV development, but the payoff hasn't matched the forecasts. Meanwhile, lower-priced competition abroad has grown sharper. Every unsold vehicle creates ongoing costs, storage, financing, inventory carrying burdens. At the same time, consumers are struggling. Delinquencies on auto loans have risen, and many people can't justify a new purchase priced like a small mortgage. So GM pivots from ambition to survival. That means consolidation, automation, and fewer humans. For longtime employees, it feels like betrayal. Years invested into a transition that was supposed to protect their jobs, only to be told their position is no longer needed. What happens to the suppliers, the towns, the small businesses built around those paychecks? The shock doesn't stay inside the company gates. Next is a company that helped invent the modern white-collar world, now shrinking it and admitting something most people don't want to hear. The seventh name is IBM. It's one of the old giants, a brand that used to mean stability, enterprise expertise, and long careers. In 2025, IBM announced about 2,700 job eliminations as it accelerates a shift toward AI-driven automation and tighter controls. These cuts target skilled, knowledge-heavy roles: cloud specialists, security professionals, data architects, consultants. High pay, high training, the kinds of positions many people believed were protected by education and experience. But IBM's leaders have been blunt. Automation is removing work faster than companies can retrain people. Think about that. Not someday, not in the distant future. Now, IBM has invested billions in automation platforms and generative tools that can take a big chunk of internal tasks off human shoulders. From a balance sheet view, it's attractive. Remove thousands of salaries and the annual savings are enormous. For the employee, it's a door slamming shut. The impact lands hard on veteran workers. If you've spent a decade or two specializing in a particular enterprise system, the job market may not reward that history the way it used to. And when younger candidates arrive with cheaper rates and AI-fluent skill sets, the competition gets brutal. Are we watching a white-collar contraction form in real time? IBM's move is a warning. The knowledge economy is not immune. The same efficiency models that hit factories are now hitting offices, and the algorithm doesn't care how many years you've been loyal. Now we reach a company so rich people assume it can't feel pressure, yet it still cut thousands. Why would it do that? The sixth name is Microsoft. In 2025, Microsoft removed about 6,000 jobs, and it landed like thunder across the tech world. This is one of the most valuable companies on Earth, and it still decided it needed fewer people. The cuts touched elite roles: engineers, cloud architects, security experts, product leaders, even researchers working on AI itself. These are high-compensation jobs tied to the digital infrastructure businesses depend on every day. When a company trims at that level, it's not trimming fat. It's rebalancing the entire body. The logic is both simple and unnerving. Microsoft is spending staggering amounts building AI capability and the hardware to run it. Data centers, specialized chips, giant computing clusters. Training and operating advanced models can cost tens of millions per iteration. Add the cost of hardware farms and expenses balloon. Something has to give, and leadership rarely chooses the top layer. So the pressure flows downward. Inside the company, the layoff ritual has become its own form of dread. Unexpected calendar invites, vague meeting titles, short conversations that change your life. And it's happening while the broader economy is cautious. Enterprise customers delay renewals. Contract cycles slow. Budgets get tightened. Even a profitable company moves fast to protect margins. Then comes the twist. AI is starting to replace parts of the work of the people who built AI. Tools can now draft documentation, help debug, write tests, monitor systems, and handle maintenance tasks that once required larger teams. If that trend accelerates, what happens to the career ladder many people plan their whole life around? Next is a company famous for talking about community, now cutting thousands with surgical efficiency. The fifth name is Salesforce. In 2025, Salesforce announced around 4,000 job cuts. Not because the company is collapsing, but because it wants a different leverage structure. More AI. Fewer humans doing the day-to-day work behind the software machine. The layoffs focused on support teams, sales operations, consulting groups, and certain engineering roles labeled non-essential. Many employees were well paid, and a lot were remote. The emotional whiplash is arshait. One week you're praised, the next week you're reclassified as unnecessary. Have you ever seen a workplace culture turn cold overnight? At the center is automation. Salesforce has poured money into AI features that can write customer responses, generate sales messages, automate workflows, forecast revenue, and analyze customer sentiment. When those tools can do a chunk of routine work, leadership sees a path to big savings. Humans cost more. Humans need benefits. Humans take time. AI runs on servers and doesn't argue, but it isn't only AI. Small and mid-sized businesses are cautious, and subscriptions are often the first thing to be trimmed when money tightens. Deal sizes shrink. Renewals take longer. Growth slows. So Salesforce squeezes costs to keep the numbers clean. And the ripple effect is real. The Salesforce ecosystem supports consultants, agencies, and partners across the country. When Salesforce contracts, an entire network tightens. It's not just a few thousand jobs, it's a slowdown spreading across a web of companies. Now we enter a sector people assume is essential, and you'll see how even essentials are being stripped for parts. The fourth name is Verizon. Verizon's decision to cut about 15,000 jobs in 2025 was not a whisper. It was a shockwave. This is a company serving well over 100 million customers, running critical networks people depend on during emergencies, and still it chose mass reduction. The cuts swept across maintenance crews, service teams, retail, security, corporate support, and layers of management. In plain terms, it's a payroll purge designed to save enormous sums each year. But why would a major telecom do that now? Because the spending has been relentless. Expanding next-generation network coverage, upgrading fiber, modernizing equipment, these projects can eat billions every year. Meanwhile, customer behavior has shifted. Inflation squeezes budgets and people hunt cheaper plans. Competitors offer lower prices and churn rises. Premium plans become harder to justify when groceries and rent are already taking more. So Verizon gets squeezed from both sides, massive investment costs and customers pushing down on revenue. The fix, in corporate logic, is to cut the workforce and protect margins. For the employees, it feels like the ground vanishing. Some workers spent 2 decades climbing from entry roles into stable positions, only to be told the ladder is gone. And remember, these aren't fantasy jobs. Many are the people who keep communications running during storms and outages. When they're removed, systems don't magically become simpler. The work shifts, the load concentrates, and service quality can suffer. If the networks we depend on are run by fewer people, what happens during the next crisis? Now we reach one of the biggest tech workforce reductions. A company that once dominated its field, now cutting deep to survive a new era. The third name is Intel. Intel's move to eliminate around 20,000 jobs in 2025 is among the largest layoffs the tech sector has seen. Intel isn't a tiny company. It's an icon that once controlled most of the global processor market. Yet it is under pressure from rivals and from a shift in the entire computing world. The layoffs reached across chip design, manufacturing operations, systems architecture, supply chain leadership, and research. These are high-skill jobs that many people assumed were recession-proof because demand for computing never disappears. But the power center has moved. AI computing surged, and the spotlight shifted toward GPU-focused firms and specialized manufacturers. Intel has been spending heavily to build and upgrade chip manufacturing inside the United States, trying to regain ground and reduce dependence on overseas supply. That strategy sounds patriotic and smart, but it comes with a price tag that can crush even a giant. A leading-edge fabrication facility can cost the kind of money that feels like science fiction, and it still needs constant upgrades, specialized equipment, and highly trained operators. When projects run late, when yields are lower than planned, or when a single tool shipment gets delayed, the burn rate keeps climbing. Meanwhile, rivals move fast. Contract manufacturers refine their processes. Competitors lock in long-term customers. And the market itself shifts as AI workloads demand different chips and different architectures. Intel's leadership has been trying to rebuild trust with investors while also funding a massive build-out. That's a tightrope. So when the stock weakens and margins get squeezed, the easiest instant savings come from headcount. It's brutal, but it's predictable. And it's why thousands of specialized workers were suddenly told their expertise was no longer part of the plan. What makes this especially painful is timing. The tech market is already crowded with laid-off talent. So a chip designer or fabrication specialist isn't just competing with new graduates. They're competing with veterans from multiple companies, all applying to the same limited set of roles. If the semiconductor fight is supposed to be a national priority, why are the people who build it being pushed out? Building a cutting-edge plant can cost the kind of money that sounds unreal. Keeping it running costs more. Delays and yield problems become financial sinkholes. Investors lose patience, stock prices wobble, leadership starts talking about efficiency, which is often a polite label for job cuts. The human side is hard to overstate. People who designed components used in laptops, servers, and critical systems can find themselves unemployed in a market already flooded with laid-off tech talent. And Intel's footprint affects whole regions. Manufacturing hubs and supplier towns rely on those salaries. When thousands of strong incomes vanish, local economies feel it immediately. Fewer restaurant customers, fewer contractors, less retail spending, less tax revenue. So Intel's cuts don't only say something about one company. They say something about the fight for semiconductor leadership and how expensive it is to stay competitive. And they hint at a future where even core technology work is unstable. Next is a company that doesn't make headlines for office perks, but for hard, physical work. And its cuts are so big they feel unreal. The second name is UPS. UPS planned to eliminate about 48,000 jobs in 2025, and that number alone should make your stomach drop. This is a backbone employer, a company woven into daily commerce. When it cuts a workforce larger than many towns, it signals a deep shift in logistics and in demand. The reductions spread across handlers, drivers, supervisors, warehouse teams, dispatch, and management. Many jobs came with strong benefits and reliable pay, the classic stable middle-class path. That's why it hits so hard. People organize their lives around the assumption of long-term employment. Officially, the story is restructuring and automation. Underneath, it's efficiency chasing. Modern sorting systems and robotic tools can process packages faster with fewer hands. AI scanning, automated routing, warehouse robots, each upgrade reduces the need for humans. These projects cost enormous sums, but once installed, they can replace thousands of paychecks year after year. At the same time, demand has cooled. When families pull back on online shopping and skip non-essential purchases, package volumes dip. With less volume, revenue forecasts soften. Executives move quickly to protect profitability, and the human cost is immediate. Did you notice how every company uses the same language, and yet the same people keep paying the price? The ripple effect will hit communities. Hubs support nearby small businesses, gas stations, diners, repair shops, contractors. Remove tens of thousands of workers, and the surrounding area feels it like a power outage. UPS's cuts tell you the essential label doesn't guarantee protection. If machines can do more, companies will choose machines. Now comes the biggest signal flare, the company that helped define modern commerce, and what it's doing should change how you think about the next decade. The first name is Amazon. Amazon's 2025 layoffs include about 14,000 confirmed cuts, with projections that could push the total much higher. When one of the largest private employers in the country starts removing tens of thousands of corporate roles, it's not just internal cleanup, it's a preview of where work is heading. These cuts hit corporate and technical teams, cloud operations, logistics planning, retail strategy, advertising, and AI development. Many of these employees earned high salaries and managed huge budgets. Amazon's message is clear: no title guarantees safety. Why now? Because Amazon is reshaping itself around automation at an enormous scale. It has poured tens of billions into AI and infrastructure, including robotic fulfillment centers that can operate with far fewer humans. A machine doesn't need a raise. A machine doesn't burn out. A machine doesn't get sick. And once a system is built, the incentive is to keep pushing more work into it. Meanwhile, consumer behavior is shifting. When shoppers abandon carts and skip nice-to-have purchases, margins tighten. Cutting large numbers of salaries can save huge sums at exactly the moment growth slows. But the human stories are harsh. People describe sudden lockouts, access removed instantly, careers ending without conversation. That clinical process leaves a mark. Here's the bigger concern. If Amazon can reduce white-collar roles at this scale, other companies will follow because they believe they must. And the tools are improving fast. Automation doesn't only replace warehouse labor, it reaches into planning, analysis, writing, coding, and management support. So ask yourself, if the largest players are choosing fewer humans, what happens to everyone else? And here's the trap that catches people. When one mega company succeeds by cutting, every competitor feels forced to copy it. Nobody wants to be the only firm carrying extra payroll while rivals brag about efficiency. So the decision spreads across boardrooms like a virus. That's why you're seeing the same playbook across retail, aviation, autos, telecom, and tech. Cut people, automate tasks, squeeze suppliers, delay projects, and call it discipline. It looks rational on an earnings call. It feels catastrophic at a kitchen table. So the question isn't whether this wave will touch more industries. It's how fast it will move and whether households have any buffer left when it hits. If your job vanished tomorrow, how many weeks could you run on savings before the panic starts? The truth is that these layoffs are not isolated. They fit together like dominoes. Costs rise, demand softens, and companies race to keep profits intact by cutting payroll and pushing work into machines. Some people will adapt, some will retrain, but many will be caught in the gap, and that gap is widening. So what can you do? First, see the pattern. Second, make yourself harder to replace in the short term. That doesn't mean learning every shiny tool. It means owning a problem that matters. Reducing bottoms, protecting revenue, keeping systems stable, or managing risk. If you can point to a result you created, not just tasks you performed, you're less likely to be labeled optional. Third, build a personal runway. Cut recurring expenses you don't love. Stack a small cash buffer, even if it starts tiny. Update your resume before you need it. Reconnect with people you trust while you're still employed. It's easier to move when you're calm than when you're desperate. And finally, watch your company's behavior, not its promises. Are contractors being used instead of hires? Are projects quietly paused? Are managers suddenly asking everyone to document everything? Those are often the tells that leadership is preparing to cut, and the first names on the list rarely see it coming. Keep learning, keep your network alive, and watch for the early signals inside your industry. Hiring freezes, slowed projects, efficiency language, and sudden reorganizations. Those are usually the footsteps before the door slams. None of this is meant to scare you into paralysis. It's meant to wake you up before the next calendar. Invite blindsides you. The people getting cut aren't lazy or foolish. They're caught in a system shifting under their feet. Will you wait for the wave or paddle now while the water is still shallow? Pick one move tonight. Update one page, send one message, or save one small amount for yourself. If this breakdown helped you see what's happening clearly, tap like and subscribe to my channel because we're tracking these shifts and what they mean for real people.